December 13th to the 22nd, 1941, the noose tightens around the Philippines. Between December 13th and December 22nd, 1941, the situation in the Philippines was becoming increasingly dire for the American and Filipino defenders. After the initial surprise attacks by the Japanese on December 8th, the U.S. Far East Air Force, FEF, had been significantly weakened, with many of its aircraft destroyed on the ground at Clark Air Base and other locations. Despite this, the remaining American and Filipino forces were preparing to defend the Philippines against the advancing Japanese. On the 12th and 13th, the Japanese sent hundreds of Army and Navy planes to attack Luzon in a final effort to destroy the remnants of the Philippine Army Air Corps, PDLAC, and the Far East Air Force, FEF. Against this powerful force remained only 22 P-40 Warhawks, 8 P-35 Severskys, and a handful of P-26 P-shooters, as well as 5 bombers in operation. At this point, it was decided that the planes would be used for reconnaissance in order to conserve their use as much as possible. On December 14th, Admiral Hart sent out the remaining bombers of Patrol Wing 10 to join the rest of the fleet in the south. On December 15th, General Brereton made the decision to move the remaining B-17s to Darwin, Australia, 1,500 miles away. All that remained of the Asiatic fleet against the most formidable naval power on the planet were 2 destroyers, 6 motor torpedo boats, 2 tenders, 3 gunboats, and various small craft, as well as 27 submarines. By December 20th, 1941, the Tanaka and Kano detachments had joined together and headed south towards the Lingayen Gulf. Colonel Tanaka reached San Fernando La Union on December 22nd. On the same day, just earlier, the 14th Army had begun to land on the beaches of Lingayen. The Miura detachment landed at Davao and was opposed by a machine gun squad which inflicted numerous casualties on the enemy before it was knocked out by a direct hit from a Japanese shell. Assigned to defend this sector was about 2,000 Philippine Army troops, led by Lieutenant Colonel Roger B. Hillsman, commander of the 2nd Battalion, 101st Infantry, who withdrew from the area at around 10:30 a.m. In the southern Philippines, 2 detachments under General Shizuo Sakaguchi, totaling 5,000 men, landed in Davao on Mindanao and on Jolo Island in the Sulu archipelago. From the fall of the Philippines, the first part of the Imperial General Headquarters plan for the conquest of the Philippines had been successful beyond the hopes of the most optimistic. American air and naval power had been virtually destroyed. 5 landings had been made at widely separated points, and strong detachments of Japanese troops were already conducting offensive operations on Luzon and Mindanao. All this had been accomplished in less than 2 weeks. The first stage of the ground invasion was nearly complete. The Japanese forces, as expected, would amass near the Lingayen Gulf, the first step in the push to take Manila, Bataan and Corregidor from the Filipino-American forces. In the absence of naval and air support, the USAFE commanders thought it imprudent to attack and sought to similarly amass their forces, and so avoided large-scale conflicts while their forces moved into position. The mood of the people and the soldiers in the Philippines was one of shock and disbelief. Everybody thought that the Japanese would attack in April of 1942 at the earliest. There was worry, tension, paranoia, but no looting or rioting. However, there were mobs and panics at the banks as people tried desperately to get their money out of the banks once the Japanese bombs started falling. The reality of what was happening had not yet set in. The truth is that they had no idea how bad it was about to get. There was a widespread belief that the Philippine garrison would be relieved in a matter of weeks. However, the primary relief forces were already mostly destroyed. The Japanese hadn't yet committed any atrocities against the civilians, and so life went on cautiously for the Philippine civilian. However, many did decide to flee into the hills to perceived safe zones. The decisions made this early on in the war meant that people's decisions in those times literally determined life or death, whether they understood this or not at the time. Had they known how bad it was going to get and for how long, it is likely they would have made preparations for a longer conflict. Nearly everybody in the Philippines was taken off guard. Everything was going according to the Japanese Empire's plan. Thanks for watching.